Attende es marca.
The king's men secured Chatham and began preparing for an arduous siege. Rochester's keep was protected by strong stone walls. The king's army would need mighty siege weapons to break through.
What needeth be on folk already ready? Hearkeneth all. Till then they that right to know. Yeah, see they to work at. You can build they that for that.
At Sealy he builded thing. God sweet he may.
See they to work. Anita, what needeth work? You go have me that he building it on. Be off yard to Hestes, two folk. Aye. Hey, every John, intended. See to Hestes.
Yare to Dunstan folk arny ready. It come to Delvin.
Hey, every John, intended. Get your wish done. Hearkeneth all. What needeth be undone? You'll then do that right to know.
Kempes, we aren't going to Tulkas.
What needeth be undone? He can build thee that for thee.
King John's forces were struck by a raiding group of rebels sallying from the castle.
Intended Ernende mina mede. Ikil. Move it, get it busy. Yeah, anon rita. Beo kete, we are fortgangende.
What needeth be undone? Over there, on me way. You can build thee that for thee.
See fate's a worker. See fate's a worker. Delphing to do.
Agretes for Hestes.
Harry, what needeth be undone? Build ende that Rita knew.
Toon folk, aren't he ready? Eagle have that ye bit.
Hearkeneth, Arler.
Harry, ya ready to done some work here. God's sweet can it be made.
What needeth be on Yare to don some holst it on. Ich he'll go and flock a wood. Ich he'll do that new. Ich he'll have that he building an on.
See they to work. He can do that, man.
See fate's a worker. Ich he'll build a that for them. Rita, what needeth worker? This Shula Udure may. Build and day that Rita new. What needeth be undone? See fate's a worker. And they
Cease the hastes.
Every charge.
And I will be Ito.
You're ready to do some work, eh?
Market Yara is ready.
Aim it low, Crossbow!
See to worker.
Extra ready, Crossbow!
Arnasia!
He killed! Alunga no!
Yare to done some worker. He'll build that for they. See they to worker. Delphente is mean leaf. Arita, what needeth worker? Ikil habi that he building anon. What needeth they undone? Cease to hestes.
Tempest, look at the spot ahead.
We are attacking our shore. Two boats already ready. They on your to hestes, two boats. What needeth they undone? This is wrong. We can on shore.
Men of arms, it's obeyed by this.
I bring Leo Kenta. We are for young Gende. Move it, get us busy.
See they do it.
The king is killed! Leo Kenta. We are for young Gende. He killed. Ernende mina mene. Alunganu. Ferret. Yeah, anon Rita. Ich hear it out. We aren't going the Tolkas. Swath ahead. We aren't going the Tolkas.
Cease to hestes.
Marita, what they see they do work.
Agretes for Hestes. Yeah, anon Rita. Move it, get us busy.
Hestes and on, Morgan!
Arita, what needeth they undone? It'll get to hit her, they'll reach a no. Every arm, and 10 dead. Two boats.
Aggress at yourself. Aggress Leo Kenta. We are for
Hearkeneth, Arler. What needeth they undone?
Yari to
Ikil
done some
happy
work.
that he building anon.
What needeth be undone? What needeth be undone? Arita, what needeth work? Tell thing to do. What needeth be undone? You think I'm here and Nathan Hester. See thing to work. What needeth be undone? Eagle happy that he building anon.
This shoe Hula oof.
Yar see they to work. See they to work.
Yeah, mayor, but
Get it the swinking, toonfolk. You then did that right to know.
Attendant nu, Tolkien. Anna Frek Empes. Luktet for Alunga nu. Ferret.
what serpent Shatton. Foliende Hestus.
Every charm and tender, I think they lister.
Boa is Iboon.
Till then day that return, see they.
Kiera. Upned Bereth Ardwayman. Waro.
Spederman Yar.
Building done. It's no Safe to Estes. You go building that for that. Hey, every John, intended. You'll then day that right to know. One native beyond done.
Hitlock as God.
You go building that
See they
beyond
to
yard
work.
to Estes, toonfolk. Eagle have a silly
Spederman Yar.
Boa is Iboon.
building done. It's looking good. Easy to work at.
God sweet. What shall each do?
Attendant nu, Ikil.
Building done. It's looking good.
Hester?
What
shall
needed
each do?
beyond done?
Min spera is Yard.
Spederman Yar.
What needeth they undone? Cease to Hestes.
Boa is Iboon.
Delphende is meanly.
Harkeneth all. See it fair
Perfect, Mayor.
every chat.
In Hester.
You'll then day that right to know.
Harkeneth Arler.
Aye.
Ik hill build they that for they.
Spederman Yar. Hart letteth be that thou art precious man.
Yar ain't just done some work.
Yarwe Shet.
Building done. It looketh good. One native beyond done. Delphende is been lead. One native beyond done. See they to work at. Good swinker, happy man.
Harkeneth Arler. Ik hill happy that he building anon. Arisa, what needeth they to work?
And silly building thing.
Ik hill build they that for they. Yare to done some work.
What wilt thou? What beeth in Hester?
swing correctly, mate.
Every charm and tender. Ich kam to Delvin. See to Heston. See things to work.
Yarway shet.
See
Heston?
builded thing.
Quite of servant shet.
What should each do?
Build and they that Rita knew.
Yara ermente mi meda. Yarway shet. Mea but.
Every charm and tender.
Servant shet.
Experiment yard.
What should each do?
Safe to Hester's.
Experiment yard.
Unseelie evening. Over the John. Tend it. Swing. Building door.
What needeth be undone?
Min spera is Yara.
The shoulder.
Build and they that Rita knew. Ich will have it on my way. Arita, what needeth work? What needeth be undone? Hearkeneth, Arler.
Harkeneth all.
Hester? Boa is the boot.
Every charm and 10 death.
What shall
This
each do?
shooter is doing.
Frek Ponti Fota spera. Min spera is Yara. Boa is a boon.
Yare, it's done some work. What needed?
Ready to done some work.
Yahweh shet.
Safe to Hestes. What needeth be undone?
En ten heriende Hestes nu.
This shooter
to work.
is doing.
You're ready to done some work. You can build it up and I so ahead. Harken to work.
better.
Take it to swing it, Tuneful. You then did that, read the note. Anita.
Hestes cometh. Intendeth, Frecus.
What needeth be undone? What are you doing?
Lusten in of their
Hearken the your well as me data.
peace anew. Lusten for Hestes. Ich am hearkening. What is the Beocloth, men? Nu Hestes. Ferren. Unicona ore Japes.
Hearken alla. Estes are coming.
Who's thou habest me, Hunter? Faring to a new shouting stead.
Yeah, you ready for Hestes? Looking forward to the meetings. Intended. Estes are coming. There is water needed to be generate.
Nu Hestes coming. Stirren. Whereas for Werian voters.
Besides, it is time to get things done. He bore away that this is he built it, and he built it well. We are no Anita. Equal to sua they come up.
Get bow! Reset!
He'll the yet every Hestes. Building to put an upper.
The said, that will I be undone.
We are in a way you'll fall yet the Hestes. We'll get this building and build it for they. Yes, sir.
Lusten in of their ik do swat ahead.
Under fyra! Defenda de punos!
Crossbow
Send it. Estes are cold. He bore away that this is he builded, and he built it well. Building to put it up, huh?
Says parity done. Moving, engines. Get it, Oscar. Engines are moving.
Hearken the water. We have a tested. He'll get this building. He built it for they. Yeah. He bore away that piece is he.
Frackers, your Hestes on here. Yeah. Casting at this, doffers.
Hearken all, Estes are coming. They will get this building. He built it for they.
Hacken Arwaras!
Building to put it up, huh?
And Victor says engines at the ready. A shot to end the
Crossbows and the armors in us! That's all fucking fear!
We on the way having an end down. Let us run along.
Be ready and waiting.
Address me at the word to touch.
Trebuchet of Ara is a data. Estes for the engine. This following the stairs, engine, you crackers.
Say it down to me. Who's thou?
Sir, that will it be undone.
Abida, a fått gone så är jag mänet hit av männen.
Estes for the trebuchet. Suhet, moving to Newstead.
A coin of Trebuchets.
The mark is in Britain!
Be ready for the next to work on the roller. Building to put an upper.
This guy goes Lindsay or he shot him! Getting on mid hit! Nan commit the stairs, engine. Even go to work.
Rochester's outer wall crumbled to King John's men, and they descended on the keep.
Army ready!
Shooting
Sure you taste stout.
Hearken, Allah. Hestas aren't coming. People away that this is a building and a builded well.
Crossbow! Ignore what the heck! Move it!
Push it down your gear, Arthur.
Intended. Estes aren't coming. It'll get this building and build it for them. Building to put it up, Arcanala. Estes aren't coming.
Yes, sir.
Send them a think it's a store. Send them a forth.
Think he'll get this building he builded for they?
Go to work. Not make a thing.
A bit of borders on half
Common.
Sit there for a store.
Intended.
Come on, the men. You're all here, a bit of borders on half and glory.
Building to put an upper.
Send them a think it's a store.
You come fine with that. Go to go to work.
Harken, Yawala. I have a testers.
Come on, the men. You'll allow ye many bet.
Be more way that hit it and build
A
it
bit
and
of
be built
borders
as
on
well.
half and glory.
Intended. Estes aren't coming. One way that this is he builded and he built it well.
Arwymen, yet have an heir to Hestus.
Hearken, you all. We have a tested. Hearken, you all. We have a tested. One way that this is he builded and he built it well.
Yeah, he ready for Hestus.
Intended. Estes are coming.
Kure, follow the stairs, engine, you brackets. Posture in the stairs, you own you.
We are now waiting for the Hastings village. Billy, and the day after next. Hearken on. Estes are coming. Intended. No, they stop out until it is all together again.
Sergeant Satarmes, Gare Trebuchet.
Trebuchet agita. Siege artillery is moving out.
Glory and see the wonderful test. That's beyond us. On to the
Sistifon sellelintelua. Perpelöne jäänä. Nittutsissa satanesa. Sen onwealte. Gangande tu anameleda.
Arkanala. Here you doing it or not? Alite, Richard. Ferrenuta. Ferrenuta at ons and night after this. You go get this building. You build it for night. Hearken, you all. We have a test this. Yeah. Building to put it up, huh?
Ready to go. Our steering sewer hat. Think he'll get this building.
Ready to go?
Harken, Allah. Hestes aren't coming.
I understood. Yeah, you ready for Hestes? Looking forward to working in the water. Yeah, you're the enemy.
Village ready and awaiting my swing.
You're aware it's been danger. Hurry, Dan. He can do so like commander. Borway that this is it.
This we ferren again me to tissa sadarnes.
Where should he dress an owl?
Yeah. You ready? You ready for the next?
You ready for the next one? And the rest up for the shrew. Ready to go?
Yeah. You ready for hat? Ready to go. Our steering.
Yeah. You ready? You're away. Yeah. You know. And the rest up for the shrew. Ready to go?
Who's thou havest me hunter? Sayest thou he can move it? He's who's the say what will address a man at a word?
Yeah. You ready for Hestes? Yeah. You're the enemy Hestes.
Yeah. You ready for Hestes?
Hestes for the ocean.
What needest thou of me?
You can follow Die Estes.
Send them forth.
Ready to go.
Send them a thing get a school. A vida bodes on happan glory.
Yeah. You ready for Hestus?
Send them a thing get a school. Come on, men. You're all Yemeni bear.
You ready for the next worker on the roller? What needest thou of me?
Vida, you ready for the next worker on the road?
Non-rester for the Shrewd. Ready to go. Sure. Yeah. You ready for Hestus? You know you ready for the next worker on... Yeah. You ready for Hestus? What needest thou of me? There is...
Ready to go. It will steep.
Yeah. You ready for... Moving.
The best for the Shrewd. Yeah, you ready for Hestes?
Ready to go.
Hestes for the... You ready for the next worker on the road?
Ready to go. Yeah. You ready for Hestus? Here a Faye. Ferrying noon.
Send them a forth.
Truckers, all of them.
Hearken, Anna. Hestus aren't coming.
Gute, we have you, Hestus.
Send them
Glória, sigue forward. Cannon and your priest.
He ready.
Now! We not gonna be at all the hospital!
Building, he built it for this.
We stand at yard to command! Sergeant Saddam! Your best shall be done! This Sergeant Saddam! Kick up the feet!
Come on, the man. Bordes on Bangalore. Avida Bordes on
Your way that
Bangalore.
hit is builded and builded well. What needest thou of me? Building to put an upper. Your way that hit is builded and builded well.
Getting on it.
Come on, man. No love here, many better. Get a school. Come on, man. No love here, many better. Borders on Bangalore. Send them a fort. Send them a fort. Come on, the men. You're out, Yemen, send them a thing, get a school.
Hearken, you all. We have a tested.
Avida Bordes on.
We'll get this built. Hearken, all,
Ready to go.
Intent having an end. Inte det spänner ute.
Villains, be ready and waiting.
Crossbow is ready and well. Clear is to obey. Tapping is closer. Connet, we start. Yes, sir. It's just to that the lure.
Push it! Highway, get down your gear, highwayman! On moving!
Intended. Is this our trouble?
Send them a fort. Avida Bordes on Bangalore.
Mother beyond this weathers! Yes!
Sergeant Salamen, Terbetet on som Tidicam.
Pushen, highwayman. Estes ilka is anan bird.
Hearken, all, Is this our trouble? Hearken, Arita. Equal to Suedekum. Hearken, them all. We have a tested. Building to put it up.
Send them a thing, get a school. Send them a fort.
Trebuchet and Deaton, what has this?
Come on, the men. West Standard Yard, Understood. Sergeant Alarmers, thank you. Starting building us out.
Intended. This is our trouble.
Avida Bordes on Bangalore.
Intended to Hestes. Good. Nu Hestes and on.
Looking out, Tulkis. No Hestes for us.
Nu Hestes är klara. Nu Hestes är igen till Geire.
Dit babies are shitting the ocean! We need goodness be at the hand with us!
Send them a force.
Be there, Arwayman, for we kill not, but be the Hester.
Ich schachel stieren at the Hester.
Be there, Bode. No Hester's ferring is not. Conne be on his shop. They rocking, glad some walk canoe.
Yeah, ready for Hestas. Looking forward to work. Ready for the next work. We aren't waiting for the Hestas villains. There's Woodda needed to be out gathering.
Helpen! Command your will in Peter! At effect, let the pass to a powerful leader!
And then if they get a school!
Kill ye Leicester, me Hestes.
What needest thou of me? Yeah, doing it or not?
Come on, the men. The loud Yemen be there, Bodes on Hap and Glory.
If he'll get this build, if he'll steer an up the Hester.
Send them a force.
Intended. We have a Hestas.
Send them a thinker. Send them a force.
Building to put an upper.
On your Heste, me blooded steer. Send them a thinker school.
Ready to go. Looking forward to working with the wall.
Send them a force. You ready to hear an Hester?
These sergeants at arms, dit at the pit.
Send them a thinker. Come on, the men. You're loud Yemen, you bet. Be the Bodes on Hap and Glory. To hear an Hester.
Arcanala. Estes are
Send them a
coming.
thinker school. Den andra bollen.
We have an Eddas. Lägger oss med en ute.
Be the Bodes on Hap and Glory. Send them a thinker school.
Här en ute.
What is the word?
Sergeants at arms.
Yes, sir. It's kind of from Arwayman. Yeah, Arwayman. We are moving.
Alla is a Sergeants, keep to leaving. Listen, and do not mission. It will be all done.
These sergeant behest the shall be done.
Arwayman. When Runasina Hestes on set. Spot.
Be the Bodes on Hap and Glory.
The great keep at Rochester fell at the hands of the King's army, securing both the castle and the route to London. While the fight for England raged on, a desperate King John clung to the throne. Some events leave a deep mark on history, but none on the land. This is the site of the Battle of Hastings. After almost 1,000 years, no traces of the bloody conflict can be seen. But here, the fate of England turned. It's where a king was killed, and his victor claimed the throne. October 14th, 1066. We know what happened here on this day, thanks to this. The Bayeux Tapestry. A carefully preserved, illustrated record of events. It shows the main players. Harold, the newly crowned Anglo-Saxon King of England. One weapon more than any other dominated warfare in the Norman period: the crossbow. Century crossbows like this were the culmination of centuries of development. With limbs made of steel, they were incredibly powerful. But earlier Norman crossbows had limbs made of wood.
There was a limit to how powerful these wooden bows could be.
So the idea that Norman crossbows were a powerful weapon is really a myth. Despite this, they were effective at medium range, and that was enough in battle. Drawing the bow repeatedly took a lot of strength. Thankfully, help was at hand.
A crossbowman spanned his weapon with a device called a belt and claw.
This gave him extra leverage, allowing him to use his back and legs to draw the string.
Crossbowmen were vulnerable on a battlefield, so they carried large shields called pavises, so they could hunker down behind, load, pop up, shoot, and then duck back down again to reload.
Crossbows were accurate, took less training, and used cheaper ammunition than the longbow. Most importantly, you could wait to take your shot, so they were perfect for siege situations. To protect crossbowmen when they were defending castles, they used specially built wooden galleries, called hoardings. But shooting down towards an approaching enemy presented its own problems. how to stop the bolt from falling off the crossbow before it could be shot.
What they did is just place the thumb loosely on the top of the bolt, which is just enough with a light pressure to hold it in place.
Around 1200, the Norman wooden crossbow was superseded by a new design, the composite bow. With limbs made from horn and sinew, they could be made more compact than a wooden bow. And they could deliver up to 4 times the punch. They were, however, more expensive. So whether on the battlefield or the castle rampart, simple wooden crossbows remained the main weapon of the day. By 1100, the medieval knight was dressed from head to toe in mail.
Mail is really like a metal fabric. It moves and behaves like a cloth, but is actually made of hundreds and thousands of interlocking iron rings.
It could turn and deflect a sword blade.
As an armor, mail didn't work all by itself. It needed the addition of a padded coat. The coat absorbed the shock of the blow, whilst the mail turned away the cut. Together, they formed an incredibly effective protection.
The first stage in making mail was to create wire to the right thickness. To do this, it was pulled through a drawing plate, which had a series of ever smaller holes, until you got wire of the desired gauge.
To make the rings, we wind the wire onto a mandrel.
And then we take it off the mandrel and cut the rings.
So I've flattened the overlapping ends of the ring and I've pierced a hole through it. And now Nick has to put a rivet in it. The basic construction of mail would be a ratio of 4:1. So each ring goes through 4 of its fellows. Here you can see I've made a set of 5, which will then be joined to other sets of 5 to create a sheet of mail.
Mail had to be tailored to a perfect fit. It had to be shaped for feet and legs, arms and hands, and, of course, the head. A skilled mail maker could make very precise shapes.
Of course, for more complicated parts of the body, like elbows, we can actually tailor it in 2 different directions at the same time.
Yeah, so if we fold this in half, we have an elbow.
One of the main benefits of tailoring in mail was that it meant a knight didn't have to carry a single ring of extra weight that he didn't need to.
The mail to cover a knight from head to toe required about 200,000 rings.
High-status knights would have had their mail edged with gold, but most importantly, it had to be functional.
Clad in mail with his shield and helmet, the knight was well equipped to face the weapons of the day. A counterweight trebuchet was the king of all siege engines. A catapult capable of smashing down castle walls from great distances. At Warwick Castle in England, they've built a replica, one of the largest in the world. Originating in 7th century China, by the 13th century, trebuchets had evolved into devastatingly powerful weapons.
Such a simple design, but so effective.
It has several key features. A pivoted arm with a weight at one end, and a sling to hold the projectile at the other. To prime, The 6-ton weight is raised using tread wheels.
So this is one of the wheels, one of two that's attached to an axle, which would lift the counterweight, weighing 6 tons. It's based on muscle power alone. What's essential about launching a projectile as far as possible is making sure that this end of the arm is moving as fast as possible. So once that weight drops, it really sends this point of the arm moving at its highest velocity.
This was done by positioning the pivot close to the counterweight and by launching the projectile from a sling. When released, the sling whips round, vastly increasing the launch speed. Trebuchets were carefully aimed, like modern guns.
In order to weaken the castle walls or even breach them, you had to make sure that the projectiles hit the same spot every single time.
For each projectile to follow the same trajectory, they all had to be the same weight and shape. To achieve this, masons used a gauge.
Now I'm going to load this projectile into the sling. Oh, this one must weigh about 25 kilograms, but some projectiles can get up to 150 kilograms. That's the weight of 2 men.
Trebuchets were also used to throw burning tar, beehives, even dead bodies. Anything to cause maximum distress to the enemy.
Did you hear that whoosh?
It was the counterweight trebuchet's lethal combination of power and accuracy that made it the ultimate medieval siege weapon. At Wallingford, in the shadow of the castle, Matilda's faction, commanded by her son Henry, proved it was still willing to fight King Stephen for the crown. But after 15 years of conflict, both sides had had enough. So, they made a deal. Matilda would surrender her claim to the throne on condition that when Stephen died, her eldest living son Henry would succeed him. A year later, he was crowned King Henry II and proceeded to grow the kingdom into the mighty Angevin Empire. But, once again, what the king had spent his life building, his own children were destined to destroy.
People often imagine that castle walls were just left as bare stone, but in fact they weren't. They were plastered, painted, and decorated.
The process of making medieval paint begins in a quarry.
This is a sandstone with a really high iron content. In it, we find pockets of ochre. This is iron oxide, like rust, and the ochre is one of the main ingredients in pigment making.
First, the ochre is crushed into a fine powder.
The finer the particles in paint, the better the paint will be.
Once ground up, water is added. Then the mixture is sieved.
This is the exact opposite of making pasta at home. At home, when you sieve your pasta, you then keep it for your meal. Here, what's going to end up in the sieve will be discarding.
What's needed are the tiny particles suspended in the water.
Once it's dry, it's going to look something like this. You can see that all the water has evaporated, leaving just this very fine crust, which will then be ground into the fine pigment which is used to make paint.
But ochre's colour palette doesn't end there. If it's heated, something magical happens. Yellow ochre turns red. And heating it for even longer creates a whole spectrum of colours.
It's been burnt for over 72 hours at 1,000 degrees Celsius, and that gives us this incredible purple colour.
To turn the pigment into paint, it's bound together with egg and tree sap.
A popular motif in the Middle Ages was the use of stones and roses. That's where you paint on blocks of stone to make it look like you could afford to pay stonemasons to produce dress blocks of stone and then decorate them with 5-petaled flowers.
So, medieval castles were far from the gloomy places we imagine today. They were full of colour and light.